This is Money, Motivation, and Mike, and I'm your host, Michael Wainwright. In charge of all the controls is Jason Wright. And hello to you, world. This is the show that will change your life. You can contact us at info@mx3.vip and find all of our content at mx3.vip or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@mx3podcast. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified of all of our new content, which comes out every Monday morning around 9 o'clock. Jason, I had a person this week ask me why I have not mentioned the Texas Rangers. And it is 2 months into the baseball season.
And what was your answer to that?
Well, as you recall, in 2023, we won the World Series. And in 2024, we had a losing record. And for this point, to this point in 2025, we have a losing record as well. That's why I have not mentioned the Texas Rangers. All I'm going to say is, being a fan all my life, attending my first game in about 1974, three years after they came to town from Washington. I've had a lot of pain and suffering. All I want to do is thank you once again for 2023. Now, moving right along. Jason, I don't know how much time you've spent in an airport terminal, but I had to go pick up a person this week at the airport terminal.
Okay. Yeah, I've done this.
And the last time, and I was allowed, this person was allowed to go through the terminal, in through security, to the gate to get this individual. Okay. Got there early. Spent a lot of time watching. This has hit me before on what I'm about to talk about. But this time it really hit me the strongest because it seemed like there were more carts carrying people from terminal whatever, gate whatever, to wherever it is they have to go on their connecting flights. And it is beep, beep, beep. I saw one dude get hit in the back of the ankle.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Guess what? Here come a cart to get him.
Of course.
Actually, I think they put him in a wheelchair. Nevertheless, here's what I observed from the last time I actually participated in watching people going up and down the tarmac. The people getting on these airport carts being carried from point A to point B are getting younger and younger. We're not talking about the 90-year-old Grandma Jones, and I'll use her because I have a Grandma Jones, had a Grandma Jones, that needs assistance because she's old and natural causes have put that person to where they are, but they still need to fly maybe to go see a loved one on the other side of the country or whatever it is. Sure. Or maybe they need to fly because that is the easiest part of transportation for them because they can't get in a car and go for 15 hours.
Understood.
Now, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Now, let's move to the other side. I'm sitting here looking, how do you get a free ride on these carts? Number one, you got to be overweight. You got to be out of shape. You got to be, if not obese, on the verge of obese. You have to have not taken care of yourself from a health standpoint. You have to have probably never been in a gym. And you got to just have sat on the couch and eat nachos and potato chips and pizza and every Coke, Dr. Pepper, and everything else you can get in your mouth so you can get to this point where you can't walk so you can ride on the free cart in the terminal. That just hacks me off. Now, I wouldn't even say in shape, but a better shape individual who is active. I mean, you can stay in shape just by walking all the time. You don't have to go to the gym. The person that halfway eats right, person halfway takes care of themselves, the person that is halfway, I mean, it's an obese country, the United States, 65%, but you're closer to your playing weight, if you will. than others. You don't get to ride on the cart.
Right.
You don't get a free pass for taking care of yourself. You don't take care of yourself, you get to get on the cart. You take care of yourself, you got to walk, number one, and number two, you got to get out of the way from the dadgum cart. And that just hacks me off. Why do we cater, once again, to those who don't? It's just like the freaking welfare system, the unemployment system. They're there for that bridge. It's not there for a career. That's another pet peeve today. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think government assistance is one of the most crippling things that can be
Well, this is airline assistance.
Well, right, but I mean, how are these people sitting at home doing nothing?
If you can't walk through the terminal,
Yeah.
you can't put your luggage up in the luggage bin, maybe you shouldn't be going. Jeez. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I think a lot of people sitting at home collecting a check, just doing nothing. They don't have to get out and do anything.
That's the episode for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, speaking of the first 140, the recording of this show, 149 days in, Jason, we're averaging 403 new subscribers per day on our YouTube.
It's fantastic.
Yes, it is. Now, we crossed that 100,000 mark right at the beginning of 2025, and we set a goal of going to 250,000, 250,000 people around the world by the year of 2026. As of today, we got 160,168. So if you take the 60,168, you divide it by 149, you get 403 per day. You take the 403 per day times 365 days, because this is not a leap year. That'd be 366 if it was a leap year, Jason.
Yes. Yes.
We come out with 147,391. So that puts us 2,609 people short. We're on pace. We're on a goal. And like you said, the winter months, the fall, brings more listeners. We are in the weaker part of the viewing and listening categories of TV, YouTube, online, radio, whatever you want to say, because people are outdoors.
Yeah, I think so.
It's not much of a hill that we have to climb, but we're right on pace, and we just need to pick it up just a little bit more.
We're trending better than the Rangers.
We are definitely trending better than the Rangers, the Cowboys, the Mavericks, and probably by the end of this evening, the Stars, who are on death watch right now, down 3-1 to the Edmonton Oilers. And this is not my topic, but since you brought it up, and we're going to get to climbing a little bit bigger of a hill here in a minute, because it is May, and May is the biggest month of the year to climb Mount Everest. One of my long-term goals that will never happen. I have finally figured that out. The Dallas Stars are about to do something no team has ever done in the 120 plus years of the National Hockey League.
What is that?
No team has ever went to 3 straight Western Conference Finals. Stars are doing that. 23, 24, 25. No team has ever went to 3 straight Western Conference Finals and not won the Stanley Cup. The Stars are fixing to become the team not only to do that, to not do that, but to not even make the Cup. Now remember, they made the Cup in 2020 during the pandemic. They've been to the Western Conference Finals 4 out of the last 6 years. No cigar. They are also on a other side, could make history. In the history of the NHL, no team in the Western Conference has ever come back from being down 3-1 to win the series. So they're going to make history one way or another.
Just got to go one game at a time.
Yeah, but right.
Win tonight, and we'll see where we are.
Well, there's another bad stat out there too.
What's that?
So they played 4 games. They're down 3-1. That's 12 periods. Remember, they're periods in hockey, not quarters.
Yeah.
They scored 5 goals in 1 period to win game 1. The other 11 periods, the other 11 periods, they've scored a total of 3 goals.
That doesn't sound good.
Got shut out in game 2, scored one 1 goal in game 3, 1 goal in game 4. So you've scored 2 goals in your last 9 periods.
That's not very good offense.
You probably ought to go find you a casino and place a bet on the Edmonton Oilers. Today's topic, something that's dear to my heart. I've done a lot of studying over this. It was on my list in my teen days, going on almost 40 years ago, and that is climbing Mount Everest, the highest point on Earth. Coming in, 29,031.7 feet. How about that? 29,000 feet above sea level.
That's way up there.
Yes, it is. It's the highest mountain. It is the highest point above sea level in the world, and it lies on the sub-range of the Himalayas. That's why the helpers are called Sherpas, and marks part of the China-Nepal border. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Most people don't even know where Mount Everest is.
I do.
Thank you.
I've watched a few documentaries on it.
I'm intrigued with it. So the height most recently recorded in the year 2020. I guess during the pandemic they had time to run out there and measure it again. The Chinese and their authorities came in at 29.31.7. So just a little bit short of 29,032 feet. Mount Everest attracts many climbers, including highly experienced mountaineers. There are 2 main climbing routes, one approaching the summit from the east side in Nepal, known as the Standard Route, and the other from the north, Tibet. While not posing substantial technical climbing challenges on the Standard Route, Everest presents danger, such as altitude sickness. That's the main reason I can never go, other than I couldn't go 29,000 feet either. Altitude sickness, somewhere along the lines, grew up riding roller coasters, loved them. And somewhere about, well, let's see, 20 years ago, when my children were riding those roller coasters, it all come crashing down. Never to get on them again.
Can't handle them, huh?
So I'm probably not going up the old side of the Everest mountain there anytime soon. So motion sickness would be there. Weather, I think weather, since I don't like to be cold, that might be a stretch as well. Weather, wind, as well as the hazardous conditions of avalanches and icefall. You know, none of those would be as big as altitude sickness. But nevertheless, as of May 2024, like I say, May is the month. There are a couple of other opportunities, but May is the month. As of May 2024, 340 people have died on Everest. Over 200 bodies remain on the mountain and have not been removed due to the dangerous conditions. You have to walk by death to get to the summit of Mount Everest. Every climber has to go by bodies. What would that tell you if you made it up high enough to get to a body? Look what I'm trying to do. And these people have already told me you probably shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Now here's you another question. Your family member is on that mountain. It's one of those 200 bodies. Would you be doing any and everything you could to get that body off there? Or would you leave your mountaineer up there on the pride and joy that is Mount Everest?
Well, for most, it would be cost prohibitive.
That's right. I will just say probably 97% could not endure the cost of getting that body down.
Yeah. From what I read, the typical cost to do this is about $35,000 to $70,000 just to climb it.
The average, that's right. And let me tell you, I know, and because I have checked into it, it's $11,000 for a permit.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, that you get to send in the mail to get a certificate that tells you actually can go to base camp at Mount Everest. By the way, in 2017, I'm fixing to touch on this, a guy tried to climb it without the $11,000 permit. He did not make it.
Oh.
Yes. So average is 6 weeks because you have to go there and get climate. You have to go in there and get acclimated.
Yeah.
That's where the base camp is. Base camp's at 14,000 feet.
It's a climb to that, right?
No, that's where they start. That's where they pretty well get you up to it.
Do they fly you into there?
I don't know whether that's a drive or they helicopter you up there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know that base camp starts at 14,000. Well, it's a big deal in the state of Colorado to go climb the 50 plus, I think it's 56 mountains that peak at 14,000 feet. Pikes Peak, one of the most famous mountains in North America. Right there at, right there at the 14,000 foot, I believe. I mean, football players, the Denver Broncos always had a major advantage because they play in the Mile High City. You know, that's just a little over 5,000 feet. These guys and gals are starting at 14,000 feet. Incredible. Just incredible. Climbers typically ascend only part of Mount Everest elevation, as the mountain's full elevation is measured from the grid, which approximate of the sea level. So 29,000. That's why I say you go and you start there at that 14,000. The closest sea to Mount Everest summit is the Bay of Bengal, which is 430 miles away. To approximate a climb of the entire height of Mount Everest, one would need to start from the coastline, a feat accomplished only by Tim Snap's team in 1990. So you got to start the coastline. I mean, if you're standing what you think is the base of the mountain, you're not at sea level. Yeah. To go to sea level, you got to start a coastline, which is 430 miles away. So you got to hike 430 miles to get to the base of Mount Everest and then go up to whatever your starting point is, up to 29,031.7 feet. That's what you would call in climbing the entire mountain. So climbers usually begin at base camp, which is 16,404 feet. That's the elevation. All right. First tried by the British in 1921. They made it to 22,966 feet. 1922, they made it, and this was the first human to make it to 26,247 feet. 1924, two guys named Mallory and Irvine made a final summit attempt on June the 8th. That's late because it's just bad conditions. They never returned, sparking a debate as to were they the first ones to reach the summit. Because you've got just as much chance of dying on the way down as you do on the way up.
Yeah.
Okay. The first documented ascent of Everest is 1953. This is using the Southeast Ridge. A Norwegian reached 28,199, which at that time was considered the summit. So not what it is today. The previous year, a member of the 1952 Swiss expedition first reported to ascend the peak on the North Ridge. That was on May the 25th of 1960. This is supposedly the first person to go all the way to the top. Geologists have subdivided the rocks that make up Mount Everest into 3 units called formations. Each formation is separated from the other by low angle faults called detachments, along which they have been thrust southward over each other. From the summit of Mount Everest to its base, these rocks are, and these are tough words, especially for a guy who knows nothing about English, Quamoligan Formation, North Cole Formation, and Rogburk Formation. Those are the three formations. And I know I butchered those names, but those are the three formations of Mount Everest. From the Nepal side, Everest is protected as part of the Samargmarthan National Park. While from the Chinese side, the mountain is protected as part of the Mongolian National Nature Reserve. Now, I would think weather is going to preserve this mountain. That you don't need a national park to preserve Mount Everest. I don't think anybody's going to be going in there and tearing it down and building houses. So anyway, but this article that I read needed to mention how the conservation of that mountain was going to stay intact. And that is through those particular countries' national park. Mount Everest has an ice-capped climate with all months averaging well below zero. In January, it on average, it's negative 36 degrees.
Fahrenheit?
Yes, sir. That's right. Okay. 36, 35, 32, 31. May, they say there's a 7 to 10 day window in May that you can have an opportunity to climb where the weather is, now the temperature is always going to be low, but where the weather is somewhat decent, it's negative 25 in May. Now, in June and July, it gets up to negative 18. But apparently the other conditions of the wind and the storms, etc., pushes you out, because the next time really is in the September category, which is a negative 21 degrees. So there's only about 20 days out of the year, half of it in May and half of it in September. Other people have tried to climb, just like the group that went up and did not come back was like June the 8th. In 2008, a national weather station at approximately 26,000 feet of elevation went online. The project was orchestrated by stations at high altitude for research on the environment, better known as SHARE. It also placed on Mount Everest a webcam in 2011. Solar-powered weather station is how this works. So, did you know that Mount Everest extends into and penetrates the stratosphere?
No, I didn't.
That sounds like space. Air pressure at the summit is generally about a third of what it is at sea level. Obviously, the altitude can expose the summit to a fast and freezing wind, the jet stream. The jet stream sometimes runs below the mountain.
Below the peak?
Yeah, below the summit. That's right. Winds commonly make 100 miles an hour. In February of 2004, a wind speed of 175 miles an hour was recorded at the summit. So, like we've said, to avoid the harshest winds, climbers typically aim for a 7 to 10 window in the spring and fall, when the season is starting up and ending. That's when they typically go. The 1996 disaster, and I've seen documentaries on this particular year. On May the 10th and the 11th of 1996, 8 climbers died after several guided expeditions were caught in a blizzard high up in the mountain during a summit attempt, which was supposed to be on May the 10th. During the 96 season, 15 people died while climbing Mount Everest. So remember, we talked about 300 and something a while ago. 16 of them just in the 1 year. This was the highest death tolls for a single weather event and for a single season, until the 16 died in the 2014 Mount Everest avalanche. So, I mean, you can get involved in an avalanche and wipe out 40 people in Colorado. So, even though it is a big deal that 16 people lost their lives in the avalanche, the other 15 in 1996 lost their lives because of the height of the summit of Mount Everest. That's the point behind that. On May the 23rd, 2010, the summit of Mount Everest, one day, Jason, one day. They call it the biggest day in the history of Mount Everest. On May the 23rd, 2010, the summit of Mount Everest was reached by 169 climbers.
Wow.
More summits in a single day than in the cumulative 31 years previous. From 1953 to 1983, there was not 169 summits. And there was on one day, May 23rd, 2010.
Wow.
Yes. What would you think the rate of fatality is for every 100?
I'd say 2 or 3.
4.3. 4.3 of every 100 summits. That's a general rate. Now, this is from those who turned back before the peak, those who died en route to the peak, and those who died while descending from the peak. All the above. 58 were, and this is of the 100, 58 were climbers who had summited but did not complete their descent. That's 26.5%. So you make it to the summit and you only have a 75% chance, 73.5% chance of making it down after you have stood on top of the world. The odds are against you of making it down. But this is a significant decrease. Oh my. The total number of climbers still means 54 people since 2000 have died. 33 on the northeast ridge and 17 on the southeast ridge, 2 on the southwest face, and 2 on north face. Now, did you know, Jason, you've seen the north face jackets?
Yeah.
That north face comes from Mount Everest because nobody goes up and down the north face.
I see.
Probably considered one of the coldest parts in the world. So you have to wear a north face jacket to stay warm.
Is that right?
Okay. 2019 is as far back as the stats, or as close as the stats go right now. There was 891 people summit in 2019. Now remember, 2010, that number I gave you a while ago of 169, I believe. Yeah, 169.
Mm-hmm.
Only 543 people summited in 2010, 169 on the same day. All right. 2015 shut down because of tremendous weather. No one summited in 2015. 2014 only had 106. And then we worked our way back up to 2019, which is 891, which is the most summits on record since they started keeping records. I told you about this guy. In 2017, a person who tried to climb Everest without the $11,000 permit was caught after he made it past the Klumba icefall. He faced, among other penalties, a $22,000 fine, twice the permit, a possible 4 years in jail for climbing a mountain without a permit. In the end, he was allowed to return home, but banned from mountaineering for 10 years on Mount Everest.
Incredible.
I wonder if he had to pay the 22 grand. By the way, 2020, there was no permits issued because of the pandemic. So none, and I forgot I did some more research about that 2019. 2019 being that big year. 2021 is only 408. And so 2015 and 2020, 0. There you go. The summit. Have you with that camera up there and seeing other people taking pictures and video, have you seen how small the summit is?
Yeah, I actually have.
The The summit of Everest has been described by the mountaineers as the size of a dining room table. The summit is capped with snow, over ice, over rock, over snow, and it varies from year to year. Basically, it's probably smaller than a dining room table, but because of all the elements, it's made it bigger. But still, I mean, you go up there and you take your picture and you're gone. You know, you're not staying up there and having a picnic.
Yeah. Take in the view real quick and
Yes.
turn around.
Yeah, I'm on top of the world. Below the summit, there is an area known as Rainbow Valley. This is where it's filled with dead bodies, still wearing brightly colored winter gear. Down to 26,000 feet, this is the big one where this is the area where what's called the death zone due to higher danger and low oxygen because of the low pressure. So I think death zone, you may, right below is you spend the night there, then you know you're up like at 2 o'clock in the morning taking off to try to get up there to the summit when it's day so you can get back down before it gets to dark. But hey, Rainbow Valley, that's a nice way of saying a cemetery. Yeah, there's nothing on Everest but a cemetery. Incredible. Now, back on that death zone. At the higher regions of Mount Everest, climbers seeking the summit typically spend, that's what I was thinking, substantial time within the death zone, which is 26,000 feet. Obviously, there's significant challenges to survival. They teach you how to not breathe, Jason. How to not breathe.
Okay.
I guess that's like going underwater and holding your breath.
I suppose so.
To, number one, learn how to survive with a third of the oxygen, and number two, how to conserve your oxygen, because you're going to need it when you start. I mean, I've heard them just talk about taking one step. You know, it feels like you've worked out for 2 hours, and that obviously takes a lot of oxygen.
Yeah.
The biggest deal with the death zone is frostbite. Any body part exposed to the air is going to have frostbite. You know, like when the Titanic, when they fell in the water, would they have 90 seconds before they started freezing to death?
Yeah, it wasn't very long.
Okay. Well, they say, and I've seen people up there with their mask off because they wanted to take it in. They're getting frostbite while they've taken that mask off. I'm not taking anything off when I'm up there.
Heck, I'm not making it up there, so.
Yeah. So, worry about the high winds and the altitude and the altitude sickness.
I got nothing to worry about.
You're not worried about the potential threats to the climbers.
No.
Now, we'll finish right here. Flight over Everest. Lucy the Lady Houston, a British millionaire, funded the Houston Everest flight of 1933, a formation of airplanes that flew over to take pictures of the unknown terrain, because in 1933 nobody had been there, Jason. So they flew airplanes over. 1991, this one I would not have wanted to be a part. I won't be a part of any of them. 1991, hot air balloon flyover. 4 men in 2 balloons achieved the first hot air balloon flight over Mount Everest.
I would have thought it was possible.
The hot air balloons were modified
Okay.
to function up to 40,000 feet altitude.
Enclosed, I'm assuming?
I'd have to be. Air conditioner. It didn't need an air conditioner, just a hardcore heater.
That's right.
Okay, one of those guys that was in the balloons was named Durist. Okay? Durist has offered to take passengers on a retreat of this feat for $2.6 million per passenger. Yeah. And you can go see the Titanic for $100,000.
You read about that submarine that went down there or something?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago. Hey, we talked about it on the show.
We didn't talk about it.
Yes. So, I mean, it's kind of like you want to go to the top of the world or the bottom of the world.
Yeah.
That's the two That's what I think. There may be some deeper parts of the ocean than where the Titanic went down, but it's never talked about.
I think it's the Marianas Trench, something to that effect.
Yeah, you will.
It's way down there.
It's way down there.
I'll add a quick little fun fact. The youngest climber,
Okay.
Jordan Romero of the USA, was 13 years old.
All right.
And did it in 2010.
Knowing the dangers of this expedition, knowing the fatality rate, knowing if you make it, you still have a 25% chance of dying on the way down. How could you let your 13-year-old do that?
There's no way.
When I finally conceded that I was never going to Mount Everest due to the fact that I can't get on a ride without motion sickness or getting sick, my son said he was going to go climb Mount Everest for me. And my first comment was, no, you're not. Because I've done too much studying on this particular subject, and you're not going to Mount Everest. You can
gain some wisdom on the matter.
Yeah, you can go after I die, but you ain't going while I'm alive. Because I don't want to be reading about you in the newspapers, and I don't want to be trying to get you off that mountain with them other 200 bodies up there.
Yes.
Because I would try to do that, and obviously that's going to take a lot of resources.
Yeah.
But hey, Go Me Fund. Go Me Fund.
Go Fund Me.
Go Fund Me. See, I don't even know what the name of it is. Yeah, was it YK2 or Y2K? Oh, boy.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the bottom line to this whole deal. Mother Nature always wins.
Yeah.
Father Time always wins. Monday Motivation of Mike. Like I told you, May. And here we are on our third May of this show, working on the finish of our third year. Just a few episodes away, Jason. We'll be starting year 4 here in about 6 weeks. Incredible.
Indeed.
How I have put up with you this long. Money Motivation Mike continues to bring you topics, information, comments, questions, carts going through airports on a regular basis. And I feel like we're going to have a lot of action at the bottom on comments on our YouTube channel this week. If not, info@mx3.vip will always be there for you to email me and tell me about your thoughts. And of course, you can find all of our content at mx3.vip and on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@mx3podcast, which Jason puts out around 9 o'clock every Monday morning. For those of you who have been involved in this episode, continue to live your life the right way.